aa.ca to learn more. At St. John Ambulance, we do more than save lives, we change lives.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Close-Up. I'm your host, Sharen Skelly, and with me today is Jennifer Miller. And Jennifer is the Executive Director of REACH here in Owen Sound, but it services clients from Grey Bruce, I believe. Welcome, Jennifer.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Can you tell the viewers what REACH stands for?
Sure. So the REACH Center is a self-funded charity that provides programming for youth and adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
So does REACH mean anything?
I was trying to dodge that. So maybe it did at one time before I started with the agency, but it no longer stands for anything specific.
Yeah.
Other than reaching potential, I think still is applicable.
Yeah. Reaching everybody in the community and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Now I can't say recently because you've been in the building you're in now for what, about a year?
Yeah, it's just over a year.
Mm-hmm. And the building you're in now has undergone some renovations, and so now the building you're in offers it offers quite a bit for the clients that you serve. Can you tell us a bit about the new building?
Sure. It's just over 4,000 square feet right downtown in the River District of Owen Sound, which is kind of fun. So it's walking distance for the library, shops downtown, City Hall, all of those things. It's been completely overhauled, the space. It's got a fitness and wellness room. It's got a learning shop. It's got a life skills room. It has an art center, a commercially permitted kitchen where the nutrition stream runs out of. It's also got a whole enclosed safe patio space that has edible gardens, a sensory garden, basketball courts, a place where families come and participants go to have lunch outside, weather permitting, and they do yoga out there and all kinds of fun stuff. So it's a pretty extraordinary space. It's a sort of a cool, fun urban space for young adults to claim as their own, which the participants certainly have. So it's got accessible parking, and it's right at the sort of bottom corner of 8th and 4th.
Yeah, it's a great spot.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell us or the viewers a bit about, because some people might have no idea what REACH is, the history behind it and the clients it serves?
Sure. So the agency itself was established in 2014 when a sort of a group of parent and community leaders got together and decided they wanted more for their kids than a remote control for their future. So this sector can stay in high school until they're 21, but when they graduate, there really isn't anything for them to do during the day so that caregivers can work sometimes more than one job. So this group of parent leaders got together and pooled their resources and hired someone to work with their kids one day a week. So there was 5 sort of founding families, and then that grew. When I started with the agency at the end of 2018, they were serving just over 20 families 3 days a week. And now we have over 50 families 4 days a week at the agency, which is a service rate of 100, 101, 102 a week, which is pretty amazing.
Now, the clients you serve, these are young adults who were in school and were children with, they were young adults with special needs.
Yes. So intellectual or developmental disabilities typically. So that would be autism, Down syndrome. We have some with fetal alcohol syndrome, some with ABI, which is acute brain injury, Angelman syndrome, and sort of everything in between, as well as just sort of global developmental delays. Oftentimes in school, they were in a developmental unit or had EA support to be able to participate in their school. And so they come to reach. Some come 1 day a week, some come 4 days a week to have the full benefit of our program, which focuses on sort of 3 pillars. The first pillar is skill acquisition for independence, and what independence looks like is different for every single participant naturally. Meaningful contribution to community and friendship. Those are sort of the 3 things that we try to tie back everything that we do in one capacity or other, and hopefully it checks more than one of those boxes, but sort of the overarching principles.
Yeah, because they're allowed to stay in school. They get funding till what, their age 21 or 18?
21.
21.
Yeah, they could stay up to on a case-by-case basis until they're 21.
But then after that, they're just sort of left to, do nothing, which is really, it's not realistic to expect someone to do nothing with their life. They've got potential, yet their potential isn't realized. So that's where you come in, and we, as we see in the community, because you read about it all the time, follow it all the time, they work. We'll talk about that. But one thing that I really enjoy is the safety aspect of it. You're teaching them personal safety. I love that, because these are young adults that are vulnerable too to outside influences of all kinds of things, like the internet, other people that want to maybe take advantage of them, and they need to learn how to protect themselves. So I love that you provide that service too, because they need it. And who better than to have the police come in and talk to them.
Yeah.
I love that, because it's just, you want that for your child. And I'm sure the parents or whoever their responsible person is really is happy to have that service for them too.
Yeah, and so that again, sort of the overarching, the skill acquisition for independence. Independence includes being able to navigate community and have relationships and friendships and do things in a safe manner. And this population is quite vulnerable and is quite easily manipulated, is susceptible. So we do work on safe social media use. We do work on community safety. We do work on safety, road safety. We talk about things like personal hygiene, and we talk about what it means to be a friend. Because again, if one of my participants, if you're kind and smile and say hi, how are you? We're best friends now. And so understanding some of those social cues and nuance and navigating that for them is quite tricky. And so if we're friends now and friends are okay, and I invite you to go do X, Y, and Z, you'll think it's okay to do that. So it is quite a process of trying to help them be able to sort of have those interactions and understand the contexts, which is a very abstract thing. Many of our participants, not all. I mean, we have quite a range of participants in the program, from some that live independently and work and are just looking for the social piece because they struggle with that, making and maintaining friendships and connection, right through to, nonverbal participants that live in supported housing. Yes. So, and everything in between, really.
Yeah. It's just wonderful to, I follow you on Facebook, and I know some of the participants. I've known some of them since they were little, and to see,
nice.
And it's just wonderful. It puts a smile on your face. And when you see the crafts they do, I think, I can't do that. I can't do those crafts because I'm not a craft person, and I see that and I think they did that. So, I would buy that. And you see what they've done at work and you think, well, they can work,
absolutely they can.
So we need programs like this.
Well, and interestingly enough, there's all kinds of stuff out in the media about that there's all these gaps in the workforce, and of seeking and finding people to do jobs, entry-level positions, whatever is a challenge right now in this sort of post-pandemic world that we're in. In this population, you'll never find a group of people that are more motivated by social inclusion and less by financial gain than my people.
Exactly.
They take such pride and ownership in contributing and being part of things. But in fairness, they're not a once and done group of people. It takes time for them to acquire the skills, and they need oftentimes facilitated support, which is a big piece of what sort of the next chapter of Reach looks like, is looking at ways, again, under that independence lens, forging partnerships with community and doing different things to help with labor market skill building, and in a sort of a safe, facilitated environment, in hopes that it will be a way for them to gain confidence and understanding of things so that they can look at part-time jobs or volunteer positions, again, to be part of and present in community. So it's a big piece for sure.
And as you say, they need a facilitator, and they need people that are accepting. And sometimes that doesn't always happen, but we hope that it does more and more. I know of several places where it does happen, and it is very successful.
Yeah, and I will say we are blessed with our community.
Yeah.
And Rogers is a great example of that, for sure.
I say Rogers is one of those places, and it works very well. Mark Perry is a fine example of a person who believes in that and lives that, like he does that very well.
Yeah.
Mark. So what are some, well, we talked about some of the, I guess I'd say philosophies that you have at Reach, and was then in turn become programs that you say, like personal safety is included in one of them. You work that into a lot of the things you do. Crafts would be creativity, and then they sell them. Cooking would be nutrition. You teach them how to eat healthy, and then they also learn how to cook.
Yeah.
And that becomes individual independence. Excuse me. And then you said you have a fitness room.
Yeah.
That also becomes healthy living. And
yeah.
I mean, just everything sort of is modeled on your philosophies, and then what you want them to in turn learn. It's just amazing.
Thank you. It was a lot of research of best practice for a lot of different organizations, of what are the touch points, what are the things that we can do to help them be the best version of themselves and celebrate all of their gifts and the variety of those gifts, and how do we tap into that? Their whole lives they are told what they can't do. Right, their whole academic lives, and sort of things are geared around their limitations, and we've sort of turned that on its head and said, okay, we all know you can't do this, but you can do this instead. Mm-hmm. And if you can do this, we can grow that, and then maybe you can also do this and that and the other thing. So let's look at that. How do we do that? How do we move that bar? How do we help you get from here to here, without always having the spotlight on the no's and what you can't do and what your limitations are? And that sort of shift in perspective, shift in priority, and shift in focus, they feel on a very intrinsic level. And so they rise up, and things that they didn't think they could do, they're doing, and doing quite well. So that is a celebration and a big motivator to my team, which are all extraordinary human beings, and very, very gifted and good at what they do. To see those gains, that's their measure of success, right? It might take somebody 25 tries to figure out how to make a grilled cheese sandwich. Okay, it'll take us 25 times, but you can do it, and you will do it, and you can do it safely, and you're going to clean up your own mess afterwards, and the sky's not going to fall, right? It's just a different and in fairness, a lot of caregivers are sort of in survival mode and don't have the time between juggling work home commitments and often more than one kid and various other variables. Some of them also have ailing parents. They're sort of dealing with that simultaneously. So they don't have the wherewithal to maybe spend the time it takes to do a grilled cheese 25 times to get it right. And that's where reach comes in, right? We really do try to look at the whole holistic wraparound of each participant. What are the supports outside of the agency? What's the family dealing with? And how do we bolster some of those things to help? So yeah, it's just a very unique program.
It's probably the most positive assistance they've had during their lifetime.
Yeah, for many, many, many of them, it's the first place where they feel accepted for who they are, and appreciated, and valued.
Mm-hmm.
And they
better late than never.
Right?
I say that, and it sounds funny, but it is. It's better late than never. You can always start learning, and they're enjoying it. So,
exactly. And the transformation we see in their self-esteem and their confidence, which of course the ripple effects of those things impact every other undertaking in their lives, are huge. So, it's a pretty extraordinary, it certainly has made me a better person since starting with this agency. I think I've changed, hopefully for the better. It's taught me a lot of gratitude, a lot of patience, but also a lot of appreciation for, they're very Zen in their sort of philosophy about things in life. They're very accepting of the here and now and celebrate all of the things that a lot of us take for granted, which is a very humbling thing to be part of, to be honest. So
it is.
Yeah.
How do you fund the center?
So we get no government funding whatsoever. So we do have a fee for service. So a lot of these families get something called passport funding, which is a stipend from government for programs like Reach or Special Olympics or other things that they might do, which usually starts around $5,000 for a year, which sounds like a lot, but it isn't for a year. It's not a lot, especially not today. So our fees are $65 a day, which includes 7 hours of programming and a healthy snack. We work hard to not require participants to bring a support person with them. Part of the intake assessment really looks at what skills they have functionally and what they can do independently. To give you a comparator, other government-funded agencies charge this population $35 an hour for programming typically, which is cost prohibitive for most families. And if you do the math, 7 hours at $35 an hour, that $5,000 doesn't go very far.
No.
So we were vetted and approved by Developmental Services Ontario, our program, so that families can pay Reach to attend for a day. They get a receipt and then they submit that receipt for reimbursement through their passport funds. So it's a bit of a wash for families, which is great, but that doesn't even cover my staffing costs. My staff to participant ratio is 6 to 1. Just because of the nature of the needs of the participants. And we pay our people a living wage, and they're worth 10 times what I can give them.
Like any human services.
Yeah. So we have to supplement and fundraise for every piece of cheese, every paintbrush, every glue stick, through fundraising. I write a lot of grants. I do a lot of groveling. We have a fantastic, phenomenal community, I'll be honest. So that the Reach Center itself, volunteers did the renovations of the entire interior space at the height of the pandemic in shifts of 5 or 6 people, almost 24 hours a day, from January to when we opened in March. So volunteers, do play a key part as well, but our community has been very, very supportive, which is great. I do worry about economic recovery and people having less and less disposable income as we look at, the post-pandemic world, and the costs of things now comparatively. So where does that leave an agency that has been deemed an essential service by, public health and other organizations, but still gets no government funding? Interestingly enough, it's not that I am lobbying for government funding, because if we had been funded, there likely wouldn't be a reach. I had to move very, very quickly with the support of my board, led by my board chair, Pauline Dantas, who's been phenomenal throughout this. My board of directors is great and had a lot of faith and trust in a lot of my antics to get us to where we are. But we had to move on a dime and move quickly to stay ahead of what was going on. So we shut down within 2 weeks. We had pivoted to open an online portal on our website because there was no opportunity to provide the social story or the transition for families. We were open and then we closed. And all of a sudden they couldn't see their friends and no skill set to understand what was going on. So we opened the website. We were doing, you name it, we were doing it. We had birthday parades where we organized people meeting up in parking lots to drive by participants on their birthdays so they wouldn't feel isolated. We were mailing out kits with instructions that we hand wrote and things when we couldn't get supplies and to have activities to go out. We did everything we could to keep them sort of realizing that it would pass and they're not alone and we'll get through it together. And we couldn't have done a lot of those things if we had government funding, because a lot of those were shut down. And even adult protective services shut down for this population during the pandemic, which is kind of hard to believe. So navigating, yeah. So it was critical that we weren't funded so that I could move quickly. And we were one of the first programs in the province approved to reopen for in-person program delivery by public health because our protocols were so stringent. But no place to offer them, the place that we were at before shut down and didn't reopen for us. So we had to figure out what to do. And we managed. We were at New Life Center on the west side for the summer. We had, I think 6 weeks there, which was a really small space. So I could offer families, 1 day a week. I know you normally come 4 days a week. It's a mathematical equation. There's this much square footage. I can have this many bodies in the space at any one time, ensuring that there was a 6 feet distance. So I can have this many participants at one time, including staff. So it was very, very challenging. And a lot of families were in crisis. And that's when we sort of realized we need our own space, a stable space that's theirs, that they have ownership of, where we can offer our program and support families. And then we just sort of made it happen. We call it the miracle on 8th Street because there was a lot of, I don't know if it was planetary alignment or divine intervention or what. But we made it happen, and we opened our doors in March and have been going strong ever since.
That's fantastic. Well, if you don't get funding from the government, you do some get grants, some grants.
Yeah.
You do fundraising.
Yep, we do.
Do you have any fundraisers coming up or?
We just finished our big one, which was the Reach in a Jar fundraiser. So again, we do try to be very intentional and thoughtful with the things that we do. So the jar fundraiser was soup in a jar and one dessert. This year, I think it was s'mores cookies in a jar. All the ingredients go in a jar with instructions, but the participants have to work on their math skills and assemble, work on the packaging. They take ownership of ensuring the success of their agency. We really do stress that it's their center, it's their agency, it's their program, which is why things like, we have clubs, we have Craft Club, for example, and they work on things that go as inventory into our learning shop. So we have a learning shop that's open Monday through Thursdays from 9 to 4 with things that are made by program participants to support the agency. We have, what do we have for, we have partnerships in community. So we have a partnership with public health. We have a partnership with the Owen Sound Police where we do meaningful works, which helps subsidize the agency under social enterprise, which is fantastic.
Now, what's that? Meaningful works.
So we do the harm reduction kits for public health, for example.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. So it's assembly based, but we go pick up, a group of participants goes with facilitator, picks up all the items for the harm reduction kits. They bring them back to REACH. They do the assembly of those kits. Yep. And those kits are then returned to public health and disseminated across Grey and Bruce.
And they learn about harm reduction.
They learn about harm reduction. They learn about safety. They learn about other vulnerable populations in our community, right? Which is important.
They learn while they're doing this. Oh,
right. About compassion, about understanding, about that there's other people in need.
And I'm sure there are critics of that say, well, why are they doing that? But
I'm sure there are, but
I think it's great. I think it's great.
Yeah, and it's a also labor transfer skill building. So facilitator helps support them doing things for that would be not dissimilar to assembly line or task focused job skills. So they work on those, and we produce 800 of them a month.
Oh my goodness.
Which I won't say they're all to help with opioid addiction, because they do help some seniors with diabetes and other things. But for the most part, that gives you sort of a sense of how much of an epidemic that is, that we go through that
much
volume.
We're helping the community.
And
that is amazing.
Yeah, which mitigates, transference of disease and a whole bunch of other things, right?
So they're doing all kinds of really good community work.
They are.
Really proud of that. They should be proud of that. But
they
are proud that you've managed to get this partnership.
Yeah.
role.
Yeah, because it's really important for their sort of self-esteem and for them to feel that they're valued. And we have a partnership with the Owen Sound Police. We do the detainee meals, so the bags, lunches we work on those as well, which is also assembly line, but they deliver it. And so they have to work on customer service skills. They have to work on order fulfillment, all of those things. And they're very, very proud of that. We have pop-up bakery. So we have a bakery at Grey County. We have a bakery at the police station where they call it the treat train. Participants that like baking and cooking, they do prepare those because it is a commercially permitted kitchen, and work on the packaging.
Do that
and then and they take them over, and then they walk around Grey County and sell them, and they have to work on their manners, their speaking skills, their money management skills, all of those things. A facilitator's with them to assist, but it also helps.
They're doing all kinds of things to work with the community, make money, and it helps their own self-esteem. Well, we've run out of time.
Oh,
30 minutes does go fast. We could talk a little longer, but what I would suggest is our viewers go to your website and they can learn everything about REACH. If they want to make a donation, they can do that too. But we're going to
always welcome,
and maybe have a couple participants with us.
Oh, that would be awesome. I can think of a couple that aren't shy.
So we'll do that again. And thank you very much, Jennifer, for joining us and telling us all about REACH. And join us again here on Rogers TV. COVID's not over, so get your vaccination.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line. Email us or connect with us on social media.